NFL, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't take it. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. We're live, local, and ready to get things going. We're also available to be viewed on social media network, on the radio network at Martin Houston Speaks on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We invite you to get in on the conversation at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That is the Alabama One hotline. We also invite you to join us via chat. If you want to get in on the conversation there, just chat us up. Let us know what you're thinking, and we'll add you to the conversation. So various ways to get involved, and we look forward to having you as a part of the conversation. We got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to be talking about Alabama football and practice starting, and are we going to see some freshmen get out there and start doing their thing as far as practice is concerned? I guess the question of the last couple of weeks is whether or not we will see Will Anderson, Bryce Young. Will they be a part of the practice? And we'll check it out, and we'll see if they do. That would be exciting news, or will it be bad news? I mean, do you want to see Alabama with Bryce Young and Will Anderson play one more game, or would you rather see the future of the Tide begin to roll out as we get things going? We'll definitely be talking about that as far as the show goes. We can also talk about Bama versus the Zags. Alabama has a really big game tomorrow. Hey, if you're heading up that way to watch that game, we'd love to hear you and your thoughts when it comes to that. And, of course, it's a free-for-all Friday, so we can go back and maybe even hit a couple topics we spoke about earlier this week that we did not get to dig deep into. So on this free-for-all Friday, we want to invite you to get in on the conversation. And once again, 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline. You may want to talk about some true false or would you rathers or deal, no deal. All of that is on the table. And before we do that, I want to remind you that this is the day that the Lord has made. So let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you?
Doing well. So what's first up on the docket for you today?
Yeah, we can talk about the Bryce Young and Will Anderson, if they're going to play, and also about the freshmen that we do have coming in that are going to be contributing throughout this bowl season, especially seeing how half of the guys that are coming in early are offensive linemen, and we know how big of a need that is, even just through bowl practice with the amount of attrition we've had at that position.
Yeah, interesting opportunity there, as you mentioned, to see whether or not these guys get to get to play or not. So you got not play. You got any thoughts? I don't know who the list of guys are. I heard there's several guys going to be playing. But I know one name for sure that's supposed to be on that list, and that's a local offensive lineman from North Ridge, right here in Tuscaloosa. Supposed to be on that list. Excuse me, on that list of guys who are going to play. So we'll be following that to see if how he does. And Alabama legacy in a sense of Taco Casa and Granddad was a player many moons ago, talking about Wilkin, Formby of the Wilkin family. So we'll break that down. But if these guys are able to play, what do you hope to see from some of these local guys?
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at who's all participating, is Brayson Hubbard, the athlete/quarterback who's supposed to be playing defensive back for us. Eli Holsting, the quarterback, the top quarterback in our signing class. Hunter Osborne, the defensive lineman out of Hewitt-Trussville. And then the three linemen are Miles McVay, Wilkin Formby, as you said, and Rayquez McElderry, who is also from the state of Alabama. So you're looking at 6 guys that are going to be able to come in and compete early. We're talking about will this be an opportunity to see Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson compete and see who's going to be the front runner going into next year, whether Bryce plays or not. But Eli coming in, I think, getting an early grasp of the offense, because we don't really know what's going on with the coordinators yet. But I think that's good. And then, of course, the offensive linemen, as I said, with the attrition, you got 3 young guys that are going to be able to come in and compete. And even though I don't think they're eligible for the bowl game, it gives them a foot in the door for an opportunity to get on the field next year with us losing 3 offensive linemen.
All right. Speaking of the quarterback situation, one of the questions or concerns was, would a McCall quarterback transfer potentially impact a guy like Eli Holsting in terms of him coming to the Tide and signing early? I guess it really didn't matter to him whether Saban's going to go out and get a guy or not. He's sticking with his early signing. And it's always interesting to me. They call it an early signing. However, these guys were practicing and they hadn't signed yet. So not exactly sure how that all works out. But either way, he has made up his mind that that he's going to be here. And so the competition is on. I think that's going to make this spring even more interesting, especially, you all remember the last time we had a quarterback come in and do a little bit of this?
Oh, yes. One Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Back in 2015 before the national championship game.
Yep. And then, of course, who ends up winning the job? Jalen Hurts as a true freshman. And if you really look at it, if Saban then wants, remember, Jalen was representing the opposing quarterback, and everybody was like, "Oh man, this guy, he has a little bit of that specialness about him." Well, Eli Holsting is almost a replica of the Kansas State quarterback. I think the Kansas State quarterback may be 6'6", but big-bodied guy, fairly athletic, strong arm, big arm. So, guys, does Eli Holsting, and I get we on this free for all Friday, we can do a little true false. Xavier and Joe, and Joe, you can go first on this. When you look at Eli Holsting, does this give Eli Holsting an opportunity to maybe throw himself right square in the middle of it, because he's going to be going against Alabama's defense? and a chance to, hopefully make some plays potentially with his arms and his legs if they run Kansas State's offense.
Yeah, I definitely think that Eli Holston. I mean, anytime you get to practice out there with the Crimson Tide, it's a chance to make an impression on the coaching staff. And Eli Holstein and all these freshmen, but Holstein specifically, he's going to have a chance to make a little noise ahead of spring practice and kind of make his mark to say, here I am. Because once spring practice happens, you're looking at a three-way quarterback competition.
Yeah, I can tell you, like the role that I held as a freshman, Joe, in X, was I was a short yardage guy. I went through a whole season and played in every game and was accidentally in on one pass play. Okay, so all year, but when we would go live in the scrimmage, I mean, when scout team was going against the first team, that would be the time that I would have an opportunity to show something. And I showed that I could be really, really good on short yardage. And therefore, when spring came around, I got an opportunity to win the short yardage back role. And it was strictly from what happened in the summer of my freshman year. We didn't have early enrollees, but and we saw what Jalen did, and so it's going to be interesting to see. And if you think about it, if Bill O'Brien is still our OC, is Holstein potentially more of his type of guy? If you look at what he recruited at Penn State, potentially, you look at what he had at New England, not necessarily what he had in Deshaun Watson. Is it a better fit for Bill O'Brien?
Yeah, when you look at the majority of the quarterbacks that he's coached, you're talking about Tom Brady for a lot of years. You're talking about Christian Hackenberg at Penn State, or definitely more of his prototype quarterback is what Eli falls into. Where you have the really great athlete in Jalen Milroe, and then you have the guy that falls somewhere in the middle of a Ty Simpson. So, yeah, I mean, I think the prototype would be Eli of any of the four quarterbacks that we're looking at having next year.
Yep. Well, we'll continue that conversation. If you want to get in on it, the Alabama One hotline is open, 205-342-9904. It's a free-for-all Friday, so we're inviting you to get in on the conversation. And as we go to break here, we want to give a shout-out to Baker Hickman, another offensive lineman from Northridge High School. Teammates of Wilkin Formby receiving a preferred walk-on from the Crimson Tide. If you want to read more about that story, you can go check it out at tide109.com. And where Wilkin has height, Baker has girth, 6'3", 320. Good offensive lineman, be a good run blocker, short yardage guy, blocker for sure. We'll see if he's able to work himself into an opportunity on the capstone. Hey, we'll keep it going right here on the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. More conversation up next, and we hope to hear from you. 205-342-9904.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we got a wreck on US 11 and Ed Stevens Road out in Vance. You can expect delays there. Everything else looks pretty good. If you see conditions throughout the morning, just give me a call, 205-886-8886. Here's a Christmas special for you from Townsend Nissan, $2,000 off every in-stock Armada, Murano, or Titan. Say ho, ho, gotta go to Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
The universal truth of women's shoes. The cuter they are, the more they hurt. You have to put your best foot forward, and if your best foot is an ugly shoe, oh my goodness. Lise Ann thought she had to choose between looking good and feeling good, until she got fitted for arch supports at the Good Feet store. Now I can wear the shoes that I've picked out.
Own every
the way they look, not because they were comfortable. Good Feet relieved her pain and her fashion dilemma. Stop by or schedule your free fitting at goodfeet.com.
Now open in Tuscaloosa at the Midtown Village. Hey y'all, I'm Steve Azar inviting you to escape to Pearl River Resort where the fun is going non-stop. Enjoy gaming excitement and catch the thrill of the big win. After the thrills, test your skills at the Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. There's dining delight and love at first sight. And it's always no work and all play at Silver Star and Golden Moon Casinos. So come on, leave it all behind and head to Pearl River Resort.
So I switched to Boost Mobile and got this free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone.
Why do you think they call it the Galaxy?
Maybe because the Samsung Galaxy A23 has a huge screen, and galaxies are huge gravitationally bound systems of stars rotating around a supermassive black hole.
And the phone is free?
When you switch to Boost Mobile.
Cool. You lost me at gravitationally bound.
Switch to Boost and get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power. Limited time offer while supplies last. New customers only. Excludes tax. One device offer per line. Only available on certain networks. 5G not available everywhere. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky partly to mostly sunny today. Tuscaloosa's high 55. Mostly clear tonight. The low at 32. For tomorrow, a mixture of clouds and sunshine. The high 51. Sunday, sunny with a high in the upper 40s at 49 degrees. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 34 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Softmark Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialty, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at softmarkdesign.com.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of the dear Savior's birth.
Y'all want me to sing a little bit of that for you? You don't. I'm the one pastor that God gave, I think, zero ability to sing. So y'all are safe. I won't try. Hey, listen, you may be thinking, where am I tuning? Hey, this is the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. And we got some comments coming in from some of that topic on from the first quarter. And we also got Curtis, who we want to get to, Curtis Moore the second, who we want to get to. But asking the question, one of the questions we asked as a potential topic was, hey, does Bryson Will play? And is it better or worse? Does it help or hurt? Are you excited about them playing, or would you prefer they not play in the bowl game? Curtis said it's time to move on. Bryce and Will hopefully would do the same, since they will gain nothing from playing and quite possibly hamper the growth of the next season's team by eating up that practice and play time. Agree or disagree? You're welcome to call and talk to us about that. Also, you have one of the players, McElderry, offensive lineman. Curtis thinks he's a project, and that he's one of those guys that may work himself into the play time. Maybe not. We can talk about that if you want to get to that conversation. And then Kevin Smith from up in the Birmingham area saying McCall is going to Auburn or Florida. Okay. Be probably a really good fit in either one of those places for him. And Lonergan is a good quarterback according to Kevin Smith. He's just injured right now. And any practice time is good time, but OC won't be here after this. So he'll be back where he started with whoever takes over. Speaking of Eli Holstein, and that could very well be true. Even if O'Brien leaves, I still think the quarterback play practice time is here. And then he told me to bite my tongue because I was talking about O'Brien having hosting and maybe sticking around. So we oh, let's see. One more thing out of here from Curtis Lewis. He said, I'm hoping Saban will go get co-defensive coordinator from Georgia, Schumann, to be the DC, because this past year Muschamp and Schumann were the co-DCs at Georgia. Saban should have hired him when he got Golding, so now he can fix a wrong. So several things there happening. But let's bring in Curtis Moore, and then we'll flip the conversation back to one of those topics. Curtis Moore, you're in with the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, sir?
Oh, since just listening to the few things that you mentioned, I gotta agree with Curtis Lewis on that. We gotta go out. Well, actually, I think we should go get Pruitt, actually, but no, that's not. The co-defensive coordinator for Georgia, that's not bad. Will Muschamp and stuff. I mean, I'm a Pruitt guy, but hey, Will Muschamp ain't bad. Hey, but I called about something else. I've been out for a couple of days, and I've been listening to your playback, and I wanted to kind of comment on the young guy that committed, the guy out of 2025 who kind of called out the transfer folks there. I forget his name, it slips my mind. But I don't know. My thing is I don't have an issue with those guys leaving, really, because of how things are set up now, Martin. I mean, I'm an old school guy, but how things are set up now, with NIL and everything. In order for them, according to Saban, at least, I know other coaches are doing it a little different, but according to Saban, it's, you got to build your brand and play on the field, and that's how you get your NIL deal. So if Christian Leary and, folks like that are not getting on the field, how are they going to build their brand to get an NIL deal? So I kind of don't blame them for leaving and transferring. But that's my opinion.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
Well, we can talk through that a little bit, because actually we had a conversation amongst kind of our host a little bit. A few of us on a group text was talking about this, and I'm kind of a mixed bag on it, Curtis. X and Joe, you guys can respond as well. But here's my thing on it. I totally do not begrudge players having an opportunity to leave. I think it's only fair. I think it is the right thing that if you come to a school and make a decision as a 17, 18-year-old and it doesn't work, you should have the opportunity to move on. And then I think if a coach leaves, you should also have an opportunity to move on. And that would be a caveat that I would give, even if a kid has transferred once and got a get out of jail free card. If his coach leaves, I'm not even opposed to that kid getting a second chance to necessarily transfer, because that would have impacted me as a player when Bill Curry left. If they had brought in, say, a Bobby Bowden style player, a coach, or someone who didn't have a fullback, then I would have been trapped in an offense that I would not have been a very good college player in. So I'm totally for that. Here's my thing is the NCAA is supposed to serve a role much like a union, right? Meaning that they're supposed to protect the players. And part of being a part of a union is that there's mature players and individuals in that union that knows more than the new employees, right? You don't let the new employees come and set policy many times for the union, because they haven't been there long enough to know and understand what's going to happen. So the union puts in some policies and guidelines to help both the mature and the young players. The problem with this is that the older players who are transferring, guess what? They're all getting picked up. Why? Why did we take the wide receivers that we took in the draft? I mean, in the portal.
You talking about from this past year or last year with James?
Anytime. We took. Why did Nick Saban say that he was taking any kid out of the portal?
because they're ready to play now, and they're supposedly better than what we got on the roster.
How do you know that? How does he know that? He's seen them play. He's seen them produce. He's seen them create value at their existing school. Okay? Yep. Tell me a freshman or a young guy that Nick Saban has brought in.
No.
None. Why?
They've all been juniors.
Yeah.
Right. Why? Because they haven't played any since high school. They haven't done anything. They've been at a school 1 year and they left. And that communicates to me as a coach that they're not willing to stick it out. They're not willing to pay the price. They're not willing to think through everything, and they want to play immediately and not pay a price or grind to get it done. Right? That doesn't mean that's true. It could be just a bad fit. But without knowing all the details, that's what it tells me. That's what it could communicate. Nick Saban says create value for yourself, build your brand, and all of that. Well, if you go to a school 1 year, Curtis Moore, and leave, and you do not play, you don't have to tell the coaches why you left or anything like that, what happens? What are you perceived as in not all cases, but in a lot of cases? What is it perceived that you did? Did you huh?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you just quit.
You quit.
You didn't give it
I'm not saying it's true, but here's the question. If you're taking a kid, think about this. Most of these coaches are what? Brotherhood, right?
Yeah.
And if you left your job, your current job, and did not say anything to the coach, just up and left, what is your next employer going to do when they get ready to hire you?
They're going
to look at your resume, right?
They're looking at your resume, yeah.
And then if they can, they're going to say, hey, what's your references? And when you look down and they're going to say, well, why didn't you put your last reference down? Why didn't you what did your last employer think of you? What did your last coach think of you? Well, I didn't even talk to him before I left. Oh, but they're a brotherhood, man. They're calling each other. Why do you think there's 1,600 kids in the portal and a lot of them are 4 and 5 star, 3, 4, and 5 stars that had scholarships?
You know what? Those coaches are like, Dan, they left for a reason, and I don't want that problem. That's where they're probably thinking.
Yeah, and some of it is legit. I'm not knocking it. And this was my thing. The NCAA should have put a rule in place that these people had to either talk to their coach, not to get permission per se, because if the kid wants to leave, the coach should not be able to hold his scholarship. But I'm telling you, and this is the God's honest truth, I probably would have transferred at a minimum of 3 times, possibly. I told the guys yesterday 2 to 3 times. At a minimum, Curtis. But you know why I didn't?
Wow.
Because I had to go talk to Coach Stallings first. And so
as I
was working up my nerves to go talk to Coach Stallings because I was mad and upset, by the next day, man, you know where I was at? Back at practice, working to get my job back, working to get my playing time back. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't have done it in today's society, but I just know that at 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, yeah, they're adults, but we all need somebody to counsel us. And what do most of the family members do when these kids start complaining? What do they tell them?
Oh, they pacify you.
That they're bad. They're better than, oh, yeah, you're better than Will Anderson. You're better than, you should have been playing in front of this guy. None of them tell them, son, most of them are looking at these players as their meal ticket. And they didn't see their meal ticket on the field, so they're trying to get their meal ticket on the field. How many kids are in the portal?
Man, so it's a lot.
It was up to 1,600, right?
Yeah.
Most of them are trying to get D1 scholarships, right? That's the FCS. Do what?
There's 13,000 players in college football, and you had over 10%. You have over 10% of them in the portal.
Right. And so, but here's the thing: when you look at it, 1,600 kids, and I know this is a soapbox for me because I want the kids protected. 1,600 kids in the portal. They all trying to get to D1 schools, which would mean that if I think it's 132, somewhere around there, if it's 132 D1 schools, that means that every school would have to have 12 open scholarships and a kid would have to fit those scholarships. Well, no one's talking about the NCAA has now allowed Nick Saban to go out and say, hey, you don't have to sign 25. You can sign up to 30-something kids, 37, I think, or something like that. He just gave them 12 more scholarships to get a JUCO player who was playing and showing what he could do and paid his dues, or you can get a 4 or 5-star out of college, or you can go get a kid out of the portal who hasn't played and left his school after 1 year. Where do you think they're going?
Going ahead,
right?
Okay.
Right. And one last thing.
I mean, it's all about recency, though. It's all about recency.
Right. And one last thing to think about, Curtis, when I hear people say, well, the coaches can leave, so the kids should be able to leave. That's true, right? When do most coaches leave their programs?
It ain't the middle of the season. And all,
when they've what? Proven themselves, created value for themselves, and they go to a job they already have. They don't leave hoping somebody's going to hire them.
Yeah, they got
Jameis Winston. I mean, when Jameis Williams went into the portal, he knew he was going to land at Alabama. When what's his name from Tennessee came, he knew he was coming to Alabama. I have zero issue. Those guys are going to be fine. But what have they done? They've proven themselves. A lot of these guys think that their high school record is going to prove that they can get picked up somewhere else. And that's why a lot of them are in there. Most of them are going to end up walking on somewhere else, dropping down a level, or going to finish their career in a portal. NCAA did these kids wrong. They should have set up something, Curtis, that these kids had to talk to someone. And here's another part that nobody's even talking about. If you're a regular student, Curtis, what do you have to check before you leave? You have to make sure your grades transfer, right?
Yep.
Or you start over, or you lose credits. I mean, there's so many other things other than just playing football that no one, I don't think, are talking to these kids about before they go in the portal. Just my thought. I love the portal. I have zero issue with it. I just think that they need to make it make them have to have a conversation with an adult, maybe an advocate, maybe not the coach, but at least an advocate that will talk through all of these points with them. And I get off my soapbox.
I agree, sir.
And I'm sorry, Xavier, Joe, I'll let you guys respond on the other side. You got anything else, Curtis?
No, I don't. I'll hang up and listen to Joe and Xavier.
All right, thanks, man. Hey, guys, I'll let you guys respond to my 15-minute rant. So come back on the other side. We'll keep it going on this Free-for-All Friday, guys, right here on the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we got a wreck on US 11 at Ed Stevens Road out in Vance. You can expect delays there. Everything else looks pretty good. If you see conditions throughout the morning, just give me a call, 205-886-8886. Here's a Christmas special for you from Townsend Nissan, $2,000 off every in-stock Armada, Murano, or Titan. Say ho, ho, gotta go to Townsend Nissan. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package drop a penny and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
I've been holiday shopping at Kohl's, and I've got to admit, their deals are some of the best I've seen. I've been earning Kohl's Cash every day while saving an extra 25% on top of 50% off cute PJs and 40% off comfy slippers. Plus, I just got 30% off super soft Kookaburra by UGG bedding. With more gifts and more savings at Kohl's, the holidays just got so much cozier. Select styles. Offers end December 18th. Kookaburra by UGG. Coupons do not apply. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Townsend Nissan's year-end closeout sale is underway right now. Every new Nissan and pre-owned car, truck, and SUV must be sold. And yes, your current vehicle is needed today at TNT, Townsend Nissan Tuscaloosa. And yes, we have 25 banks on hand to take care of your financing needs. And yes, of course, all new and most units come with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Okay, in case you missed it, Townsend Nissan's year-end closeout sale is going on now. Every new and pre-owned unit must be sold. Shop Townsend Nissan, where you will save time and money while supporting the local economy.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, welcome into the Martin Houston Show. Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. Thanks to the great folks over at Alabama One. Go check them out, alabama1.org, alabama1.org. You can find out what all we have going on. We're in the middle of our referral friend campaign. Wraps up at the end of this month, but we'll roll it out bigger and better into the new year. More ways for you to win and more opportunity to win there. Remember, get 10, give 10 when you open up a new account or get a new loan. We'll also be rolling out an equipment loan offering, so you can get some great deals on if you're buying some small equipment, ATVs, etc. So stay tuned for more of that as we roll out into the new 2023 year. Curtis said it was more like a soap pillow. I would probably say it's more like a soap train car because it's a big box. It's not just a little box that I'm on when it comes to that. But he threw out Stanford's coach. Talking about Curtis Lewis, not Curtis Moore, who was on the phone with us. Threw out Stanford's coach leaving without somewhere to go. Big distinction. He has a resume, right? He's done enough. He's created value for himself. So even though he may have left without a job, he can still get an interview and simply say what? Hey, I wanted to take some time off. We know who did that. Urban Meyer left Florida, right? And then he ends up at Ohio State. But what had he done? He had a resume. And that's the thing that these guys don't have. I'll let you guys respond. X, you can go first, and Joe, you're able to respond as well.
Yeah, when I'm looking at this situation and you're talking about there's no communication, there's no representation really for these kids. And while I was in the Marines, we have a section that's called junior enlisted. And depending on your branch, that can be an E1 to an E4. For us, it was the E1 through E3. And the big thing about that is during those years, your most formative years while in the military is really the same age of college athletes. It's 18 to 22 if you join right out of high school, really. And we have so many people, career advisors. You have your NCOs, the non-commissioned officers, E4 to E7 or E6. that you can go and talk to, and they give you advice and they help you understand whether that's you getting out, if it's you taking a certain course or a class that can progress your career. So I look at it in a similar light that if you have guys that are really supposed to be adults at 18, going to serve in your country, going to war and things of that nature, if they have people in place to help us, you should have the same for a college athlete that has to deal with the athletic aspect of it and the college aspect of it, as you were talking about, making sure credits transfer and things of that nature. And it's just a free for all when it comes to college football and college sports in general when it comes to the transfer portal. So that's what they need to clean up.
Yeah, Joe, any thoughts from you?
I just think it's a little short-sighted of us to think that. I mean, you only have a certain amount of time to play at college athletics, 3 to 5 years. I think it's. I know that it's happening that where some athletes are going to the portal and not finding homes, but I think it's short-sighted of us to think that these athletes are not thinking through their careers, thinking through their finite time of playing sports. Because I mean, for me at least, I valued playing, and I valued being on a team and being involved in the sport. So if I was wanting to transfer, I mean, I don't know. I think we're trying to protect these kids, and I think that we're oversimplifying things. They're not getting.
Joe, why is it short-sighted to have them have a conversation with an adult?
Do we not think they are?
I don't know. I said that. I'm saying they did not have it where that is a requirement. A lot of times, Joe,
and if it's not a requirement and you're not talking to an adult, then you're probably not very smart anyways. You're probably going to make a dumb decision anyways.
Joe, where do most of these kids come from? Let's break it down. Where are the majority, a large percentage of these athletes coming from? What's who's in their life? Who's in their life?
Parents, mom, dad, aunts, uncles, grandparents,
but
cousins.
But in the same breath of those people,
and Joe,
high school coaches, former teachers,
so you think that just because all those relationships are there, that those relationships, who ends up talking to these kids the most, especially now that you have agents or marketing reps able to be involved? Joe, what's short-sighted or naive is if you don't think that there's people in these kids' lives who have their ear that are about themselves and not about these kids. That would be short-sighted. I promise you. And like I said, it wasn't even this bad, Joe, when I was there. I could only imagine what it's like now. And it happened when I was there. Everybody telling family and friends see you. We as family and friends tend to see our kids better than what they are. We tend to not want to give them the negative. We tend to want to give them what their itching ears want to hear. And we're living in a generation now where it's even worse that people don't tell people the hard truth or stick it out. I agree with you. That's why I said I have no problem with them transferring, Joe. I think about unions and what they were supposed to do. Of course, those people are representing grown people. So if I go take a job that has a circumstance and situation, I should be willing to put up with that. But I'll join an organization and I'll ask, and then the union comes up and helps them to make that situation even better. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't transfer. I'm saying to me, the responsibility of the NCAA, Joe, they went from you couldn't transfer at all without sitting out a year. You went from you used to have to talk to a coach to get released, and you still had to sit out a year to you can just tell them, hey, I'm gone. I'm gone. Joe, why do you have agents at the NFL level?
To handle their business. So they
to
can
handle what?
So to handle their business so the players can worry about playing.
To negotiate on behalf of who?
The players.
The players. Who helps the college player? Who when an NFL free agent leaves, what you know?
If the players are smart, they got that lined up. But
Yeah.
like you're assuming, like here's the thing, you're saying, a conversation with the coach might change things. You're assuming the coach is going to give altruistic advice. You're assuming the coach is going to give advice to the player based on the betterment or the wholeness of the player, and not himself and not his program.
No, I'm not. I'm not assuming that. I said they should have to talk to. I'm not saying their position coach. I'm not saying their head coach. I'm saying an advocate or something that is a third party brought and put there by the NCAA that will go, here's a list of things. I'm saying that the coach was the reason that kept me from going. You know, I'm not saying you have to go talk to Coach Saban. Because you're right. Coach Saban is going to tell the kid probably most likely what's going to benefit Coach Saban in Alabama. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the fact that I had to go talk to him is what kept me from going and leaving. Had I not had to go talk to him, and Joe, I was mature. I was married. I was raising a kid, and that still helped me. I'm saying that not necessarily when I say the union. Because Curtis said the union wouldn't send you to talk to your boss. That's their job. That's whose job? That's the union's job. So the union is to represent the player. And I'm saying the NCAA should have set this up to have some way to represent and help these young men through that decision process.
All right, I'm on board with that. I'm on board with that.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
I threw the coach in there because, Joe, that's what helped me. I'm saying that there should be an advocate, a third party that helps them walk through this transition. Because
I mean, and to add on to that, like I was saying with the Marines, when you're getting out of the Marines, they have a set group of people that help you through the transition. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but every branch has this where they have people that set up like, hey, they help you get a job, they help you get in contact with the VA. They have all of these people that help you transition from military life back into civilian life. And that's what college kids don't have. And granted, we're talking about a different phase, but there should be someone there to help them during the transition of finding a new school outside of just them having to call coaches or hoping the coach calls them. I mean, that's what high school coaches do. High school coaches reach out to college coaches. They send the film in. They do all these things. So we have people that help the high school kids get to college, and then we have people that help the professionals with every sense that they have to walk through. But we don't have anybody that does that for the people in the middle.
It sounds like
and
what
that's
we
the
need to
most
do
important
is cut this conversation off and talk about this off the air and create a multi-billion-dollar busined.
Yes, you're probably right, Joe, because the reality of it is, how did this all come about? Why did we get the portal and all of that in NIL? Because of the Supreme Court, right? And the NCAA did what? Hey, here, just have it. Y'all want it? There, take it. You know, and they created this mess, and no one's overseeing it. And that's my biggest thing. Hey man, you're like me. I said it from day one. The reason I love the NIL, the reason I love the portal is because you have 3 to 5 years, and if you got COVID year, you got 6 years. In most players, that's it. But you can do enough in these 3 to 5 years that create a brand and an opportunity that will pay dividends for your entire life. Let me tell you who, and I know this may sound like I'm just being, farce here, Joe, but think about, this is the guy I think about. I think about the guy who has been in college. He's played a little bit, but he hasn't really got to play as much as he liked, but he feels like he's good enough to play, and he's close to graduating. And he fools around and goes to a school, and because he doesn't know fully what all to do, and maybe doesn't have family that knows fully what to do, and then he gets to go and play for 1 year his football career is over, but then he didn't get that degree when he could have maybe stuck it out for another semester, maybe even did interim, Joe, at Alabama and picked up that last 6 hours and have a degree and then go and pick where you want. Just little things like that, like students transferring, and not losing all their credits and their hours. And so I'm not talking about just the football side of it, but you and I will be 100% on board, Joe. Man, let these kids maximize their opportunity. The NCAA, not the university, the NCAA owes it to these kids to have some type of advocacy program that helps these kids transition. Because it's just like free agency. And no NFL free agent leaves without having intel on the street or from the street on who wants him and how much they're willing to pay him and give him. And these kids are jumping into the portal not knowing necessarily, because that was one of the restrictions, right, Joe?
Absolutely.
One of the restrictions is, the other schools can't talk to you until you go into the portal. And I'm like, well, crap.
That's not true.
I know it doesn't happen that way, but what I'm saying is that's the stupidity of the NCAA. Hey, we don't have any advocacy for you. You don't have to talk to anybody about whether you leave. And guess what? Oh, they can't talk to you till you leave. Now, we all know that the superstars, that's why I was saying that, we know Toa had a landing place before his name ever went in the portal. Jameson Williams had a landing place before he went into the portal. Those guys are going to be fine because those teams. How much did we talk about the wide receiver Jordan from Pitt before he left? How much have we talked about McCall before they left? Well, if we're all saying that and we know where they may not land, we know that they could be, in that situation. So it's just my thing that for those kids who don't have those people that you mentioned, Joe, the teacher that still cares or the coach is still involved or mom or dad or those who are struggling just to make ends meet and their family's never been in this position at this college level, I think the NCAA owes it to that kid and that family to have an advocate for them and not let them fool around and mess up. Let's bring in Todd for the last few minutes. Todd, you're in with the Martin Houston Show to wrap things up.
Good morning, gentlemen. Great conversation about protecting these young boys. You said where most of these kids come from. A lot of them come from broken homes and families, and if they don't have that protector to come alongside them and walk them through this, they'll make some irrational bad decisions in their lives. So I am almost certain Nick Saban has some type of team meeting, group meetings, discussing, your career here at Alabama and, opportunities. And if you ever feel like the fit's not working and you talk to this person, talk to that person, I'm almost certain Saban is having those conversations because I know it's hard. It's for the game in the University of Alabama, but I'm certain his heart is for the players that he brings into the University of Alabama and tries to protect them to the best that he can. And I'm almost certain of that, guys. But, go ahead and call it like it is, Martin. You say I'm not knocking the portal, but go ahead and knock it, bud, because it's flawed. It is definitely flawed and needs some help to help add some added protection to protect these young kids because, as Joe said, though, their time is short in college football, and making an irrational decision can harm them in a bad way. So thank you for taking my call, guys, and it's just a great conversation about protecting our youth.
Appreciate it, and I want to call them young men because I'm like you, Joe. I believe that they're young men. I think they're adults or transitioning to adulthood, and we should treat them as such. Don't think the portal should be closed. I think the administration of the portal needs some help. I think it's a great addition. I'm not one of those that thinks that the portal NIL is going to ruin college football. I think it's going to correct itself much like the stock market does. Hey, we didn't get to talk about the Zags, but real quick, guys, Bama wins over the Zags. Joe, yes or no? Xavier, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Bama,
taking the time.
Bama over the Zags. All three of us picking Bama Will they be 1, 2, or 3 after this big win over the weekend? Hey, we'll talk about it on Monday. Remember this, trust in the Lord, always lean not your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Roll Tide out there, everybody. Have a blessed, prosperous, and successful weekend. For the Martin Houston Show, we say Roll Tide out there to everybody. Have a blessed day.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.